Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Baller Nation. I'm back with another series review. Today, I'm going to be doing the Utah Jazz versus the Memphis Grizzlies series review. I understand it's not the big hype thing that's going around right now. The Lakers did just get eliminated. I will get to that. Don't worry. I just got to go in order here. First and foremost, not foremost, just first. The Jazz and the Memphis Grizzlies. If you're new to this, I kind of give my thoughts on the series, and then I give my sort of future expectations from both teams that are mainly in the short-term future. For the team that wins the series, I kind of talk about how I think they'll do the rest of the way in the playoffs. For the team that loses, I might just talk about what I think their future is as a team. Starting off with this one, though, the Jazz and the Grizzlies, I've been quoted saying this, or I don't know if I've been quoted. I've been saying this, all right? Donovan Mitchell, to me in my eyes, might be the single most influential person on this season's NBA championship, or the biggest X factor on this year's championship winning team. He might just be the most influential X factor on this year's championship winning team. When Donovan Mitchell's playing, the Utah Jazz are a whole different team. You saw what happened in Game 1. All right, you saw what happened in Game 1. The Memphis Grizzlies took down the Utah Jazz without Donovan Mitchell. And that's why I'm going to say it again, just for the people in the back. All right, in my opinion, Donovan Mitchell is the biggest X factor in this year's NBA playoffs. If Mitchell's playing at 100%, the Utah Jazz are absolutely a team that can win the NBA championship. I don't care who they play in the finals. They could be taking on the Brooklyn Nets. They could be taking on the 76ers, the Milwaukee Bucks. If Mitchell's playing at 100%, he is a guy that can lead a team, I think, to a championship, or lead this team to a championship. The way the Jazz are built, Mitchell at 100% can lead a team to a championship. I just think he can. All right. Now, I understand Booker gets a lot of hype. I understand Tatum gets a lot of hype. And none of the sort of 2017 draft class, or that sort of, the younger guys in the league right now. Donovan Mitchell doesn't get the same sort of hype as those guys get. He still gets hype. And he's a very exciting player to watch. But I think, in my opinion, he's a big game player. And I know we haven't really seen it from Mitchell. We've never seen Mitchell pass the first round or pass the second round. I think this year he definitely has a shot of getting past the second round. And if he's fully healthy, I think they can beat the Clippers or the Mavericks, whoever they go up against. But Donovan Mitchell might be the biggest X factor in this year's playoffs, and we saw it already this season. We already saw it happen in the first round. The Utah Jazz, Game 1 without Donovan Mitchell, they lose to the 8th seed. They lose to Ja Morant, who, by the way, had a great series. Ja Morant, Delon Brooks, a lot of the other guys on the Memphis Grizzlies I thought were terrific. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the Grizzlies' future, I think, in a few minutes, but cause it's a bright one for sure. A lot of the young guys really stepped up for Memphis, and a lot of people didn't have Memphis even winning a single game in this series. Personally, I had the Jazz in 5 games, and the Jazz won it in 5 games. Look at me. But we saw Donovan Mitchell impact right away in Game 2. Mitchell comes back. Sure, he looks a little bit shaky. He's not fully 100%, but he still gets the job done. He still gets the dub. And Mitchell goes out there for the 4 games after the one they lose. He just does his thing. He gets the job done. All right. And I think that if you're the Utah Jazz right now, Mitchell, it's sort of a two-headed monster. It's a two-headed beast between Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert. And Mitchell's the one. He's the more popular one. He's the more likable one. He's the one. He's a flashier one. When you turn on the TV, you see, oh, look at number 35 doing all this great stuff. He must be the best player on the team. But as far as most impactful, most valuable player on the team, I used to definitely lean more toward Rudy Gobert. But I think Mitchell's as he's getting older, I think he's getting a lot better and a lot more impactful to the Utah Jazz. Defensively, yes, Rudy Gobert is the most impactful player, not only on the Utah Jazz, but in the entire NBA, in my opinion. Rudy Gobert is huge. Huge not only physically, but huge as far as being a part of the team. He's such a big piece. I think that, if you take Gobert away from the Utah Jazz, the team is in shambles. There's no way they could probably get past the Grizzlies, but it'd be a 6 or 7 game series, especially given the fact that Donovan Mitchell, or they already lost the game 1, and Donovan Mitchell's not fully, he's not fully Donovan Mitchell. He's still coming back from an injury. Rudy Gobert is a huge part of that team, and That's why I mean when I look at Utah, I look at a team that I genuinely, in my opinion, I think can win an NBA championship this year. They are a true contender to win the championship this year, and a lot of people do not trust Utah Jazz. I've heard some people call them the Pittsburgh Steelers of the NBA. But for me, I look at the Utah Jazz and I'm saying, shit, this team can win it all. They really can, and it starts with Donovan Mitchell. But Rudy Gobert is the unsung hero, as he always is. Most overhated player in the NBA is Rudy Gobert. And he gets all the criticism, and everyone likes to make fun of him. People blame him for shutting the league down and last year. And people always like to clown on Rudy Gobert, and they never want to give him credit for what he does. And it's always this, that, and the other thing about Gobert. Oh, he cries, oh, he flops, oh, he whines, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, you watch a Utah Jazz game and watch who the defense runs through. It is entirely through Rudy Gobert. You watch even the offense at times. Rudy Gobert, he doesn't have the ball in his hands the same way Mitchell does, but he is such a big part of that offense. And that's the thing with Gobert, man. He gets all the criticism in the world. He takes all the blame, and everyone always shits on Rudy Gobert. But I look at the man, and I just can't deny the fact that he's one of the best big men in the NBA. I mean, he's a top 3 center in the NBA, and like off the top of my head, I can't think of more than 2 or 3 guys that are at the center position that are actually better than him, or more valuable than him to their team. I'm a big fan of Rudy Gobert. And I understand that it's not a popular opinion to have, but I'm a huge fan of Rudy Gobert, and I thought Gobert was great in the series. I saw some people say he was the MVP for the Jazz in this series. Not only obviously, and he scores at a very high percentage as well. But now, like going into the future now for both these teams. Going forward for the Memphis Grizzlies, let's start with the Grizzlies first. They lost the series, but it's nice to see Memphis finally get some playoff experience. Last season, the Grizzlies never got the playoff experience. They were the 8th seed and they lost a play-in game, I think, against the Portland Trail Blazers. And then they didn't, or I think they were the 9th seed or some shit. I don't know. They almost made the playoffs last year. Didn't happen. All right, with that great young team, Morant was a good rookie. And this year, they finally did it. They finally got in. And they got that much-needed playoff experience. And they got a win as well. And they were in a lot of the games, too. They were in some very close games. And I think going forward for the Memphis Grizzlies, if these players can stay, and that's the thing with the small market, though, for Memphis. Memphis is a sort of team and city that just doesn't win championships because all the players leave for bigger markets. And you can't blame the players. You go where the money goes. You go where the fans are. Memphis, I love that team. I've always been a big Memphis Grizzlies fan. You know, back when they were, you know, when they had Mike Conley and Marcus Gasol, and they were nice, you know, the early parts of the 2010s. I always cheer for the Grizzlies until they versus Spurs, and then I wanted them to lose. But I've always been a big Grizzlies fan. And I think if Memphis can keep this kind of core together, they can get 1 or 2 free agents. It's a team that can definitely contend. Ja Morant is that dude. He's that dude. Dillon Brooks, clutch player. Kyle Anderson as well, former Spur. I love the guy. I think Memphis, they got a very bright future. And people know that. That's not even a hot take. Jaren Jackson Jr. as well. Terrific. For the Utah Jazz, though, I didn't think that they were going to be in win-now mode. If you asked me about the Utah Jazz future a year ago, I would have said, yeah, they're about 2 or 3 years away. Wait for Donovan Mitchell to fully get to being the great Donovan Mitchell. Wait for Rudy Gobert. You know, Rudy Gobert can even get better. I mean, we haven't really seen prime Gobert yet, I don't think. I don't think we've seen the peak of Rudy Gobert yet. I think he can get even more valuable to the Utah Jazz. But this year, they're contending. And the Jazz are here, and they're in it to win it. And when I'm looking at the rest of the Western Conference, especially with the Lakers getting eliminated, as I'm recording this, the Clippers are on the ropes. They're down 3-2. They play tonight. But with if those 2 teams are out, or shit, even if the Clippers go through, they're going to go up against the Utah Jazz in the second round, and it's an inconsistent team. The Clippers are very inconsistent. Jazz can take them. Jazz can definitely take the Clippers. And then who else they got to beat? Phoenix will be tough. Denver will be tough. But those are, again, teams that are very fun series to watch. 100%. I can't wait to watch those series. But Utah, they have a path to the finals now. And Lakers going out was huge for them, because that was the one team where if I'm the Utah Jazz, that's the team that I don't think I can beat. I think Utah's very lucky that the Lakers didn't get the 8th seed. But to win championships, sometimes you got to be lucky. And the Jazz, I think this year definitely were lucky. So yeah, that's pretty much it from that Jazz Grizzlies series. Not a lot to talk about, honestly. It was pretty straightforward. 1 seed versus 8 seed. That's just how it goes. Quick 5-game series. So far, I would like up to the series that I've reviewed so far, I predicted the Jazz to win in 5. They won in 5. I predicted Philadelphia to win in 6. They won in 5. I predicted the Knicks to win in 7. The Hawks won in 5. I predicted the Bucks to win in 5. They won in 4. I predicted the Nets to win in 5. They won in 5. So far, I'm doing pretty good. Anyway, if you're watching this or if you watch this at all, I appreciate you. And I'll see y'all in the next one. Peace out.